month-long stay in hospital. Tsiri Madia is in Ulundi.
While this town feels like it's experiencing a lull of sorts, there are signs that it's preparing for a major event. The Buthelezi family home continues to receive guests. This in spite of asking for privacy in order to observe cultural rites ahead of the funeral. And here at the stadium, a stage is being erected. Rehearsals are also underway. These include dry runs and the placement of a mock coffin. Just a short while ago, the IFP Secretary General Siposethu Ngobo and MP Naren Singh arrived here discussing several issues, including how the Amabutu regiments will make their way into the stadium. CD Madia, Eyewitness News, Ulundi.
And the presidency has criticized the UDM and others for wasting taxpayers' money after they abandoned their load-shedding case against government. In March, more than a dozen organizations and political parties approached the court to force government to shield schools, police stations, clinics and hospitals from the rolling power cuts. In May, the Pretoria High Court issued an order effectively exempting these institutions from load-shedding. However, it seems that the parties have now withdrawn their court application. The presidency's Vincent Magwenya says the move was a complete waste of taxpayers' money.
For all these applicants to take up time and taxpayers' money to then simply walk away because they finally appreciated the detailed, substantive and indisputable response submitted by government is in fact an insult to both the court as well as the South African public.
Final look at the markets. Gold's trading at $1,904.71 an ounce. The rand is at 18 rand 94 to the dollar, 23 rand 58 cents to the pound, and 20 rand 25 cents to the euro. Brent crude oil is changing hands at $93.22 a barrel. A fine Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg dropping to an overnight low of 11 degrees, peaking at 27. Pretoria peaking at 29 degrees. Vereeniging reaching highs of 30 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The presidency says there was no malice on the part of Cyril Ramaphosa in removing Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane as public protector.
947. For more, click ewn.co.za.
#MSW. You may begin to feel anxious or excited. Honest, deliberate, engaging, uncensored. High-dosage administration can cause adverse reactions. And most importantly, independent in mind and execution. This is a normal response. Are you ready? Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Samir Nokovic.
Things started so well at Kaizer Chiefs. Things didn't end up there at Kaizer Chiefs with some injuries, being offloaded and going to Royal AM and all those fights. And I think this is not what Samir Nokovic wanted to have in his football journey here in Africa.
This is why I love this country. I love these people. I love everything. Perform on the best.
Makes you feel good, doesn't it? In the heart of Ghana, in Kumasi, Noah Adams, African football journalist, live from Ghana.
The Qatar Media Group have breached the contract and they can cancel the deal. But you listen to these sports, they are also coming from a different angle. They are also saying, the contract was signed 6 years ago. Before then, African Cup of Nations was played by 16 countries. Now we are having 24 teams starting 2019. So production for matches have increased and they are not getting any value for money.
Hi Rob, for me you would swear that Bafana is an illegal entity because their matches are kept so secret. You hardly get promos or get any adverts promoting this national entity, and also I think the media team needs to help the coach on how to deal with questions, because for him to single out my team Kaizer Chiefs was a personal attack on me, not even trying to go and support them. And also some of his selections are very biased. Why Uvelemseni Ndwandwe is nowhere in the national team, and for me those are some of the injustices that I don't think make it easy to support Bafana.
And here we are playing in South Africa in the heart of Soweto, but fans nothing. But you also can't tell me that just because now Botham Sela and Mama Joy are having a wonderful time in France, that means then the rest of the South African Football Supporting Society is now gone.
Robert Marawa, live on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW. Streaming from 13 September on Disney+, the football underdog story. Welcome to Wrexham brings you Marawa Sports Worldwide. Live on 947, Rise, Vuma, and Sowetan Live.
Hope you enjoyed it, man. Marawa Sports Worldwide is brought to you by Season 2 of Welcome to Wrexham, streaming from the 13th of September on Disney+, live on 947, Rise FM, Vuma FM, and of course on Sowetan Live. Welcome to the show. It is the Thursday edition of #MSW. You know what, on the earlier edition of the show, we were chatting to Vusi Vilakazi. Now, Vusi is the man who's been spearheaded across there to Quebec to go to Chippa United to take charge there. You know, technical director, is the assistant, and there's been a lot of reaction to that. Let's take it as it comes in.
Mr. Rob, I'm afraid the merry-go-round that is happening there at Chippa, Morgan Maila, he knows the story. When he's being recalled as Chippa, he will be recalled as technical director. The next game, he's sitting on the bench. So what's the difference now? He must be afraid of his job because Vilakazi is there to be a head coach. He knows, Morgan Maila knows the truth, and Vilakazi knows the truth. The chairman himself knows the truth. There is no such thing. A TD sitting on the bench in domestic league, in a huge league like the DSTV. No.
All right, saying no. And just having that conversation, though, with VV, he was saying he's packed 6 bags. He hasn't just packed his toiletry bag.
Good evening, Marawa. Good evening to the shareholders of this brilliant show, the best in Africa and beyond. Miss Marawa, what is happening at Chippa is not something that is new to South African football. Once a team appoints a technical director, in most cases, they are eyeing that technical director to take over the head coaching duties. So the way I see it, I smell a rat, and I suspect Morgan Mamila could be soon pushed out of his position as the head coach of Chippa United. Well, I stand to be corrected. It's up to the listeners to say whether I'm correct or wrong, but that's my thinking. Thank you, Ms. Marawa. Edgar again from Polokwane.
Edgar, thank you very much indeed. Just laying the foundation, saying what's happening at Chippa United is not something new. But what is new? Oh man, it comes in the form of pretty sad news, stuff that you don't really want to hear about in a Rugby World Cup.
They say it's been around for 45 years. A power with the ability to make all men equal, defying the mighty, inspiring the weak. They say it chooses the moment, just shatter dreams and make heroes. The spirit of World Cup rugby lives with Robert Marawa. #MSW for all the rugby news.
All right, the news that's come through from the Barker camp as well. Before we get there, Ireland's Tag Byrne also spilled the tea as he discussed the reasons as to why he was wearing a suit today. The 31-year-old revealed that his punishment for arriving seconds late for a meeting was to wear a suit. He says that there was a bit of a dictatorship in camp at the moment, as 3 players have called themselves sheriffs and are in charge of fines and any other misdemeanors. The Ireland won the opening World Cup match against Romania 82-8, and also they're going to be playing Tonga next.
Well, as I said before, there's a bit of a dictatorship going on in camp at the moment. We have 3 lads, they call themselves the sheriffs. They're in charge of any misdemeanors or any fines that need to be taking place within camp. And unfortunately, I turned up a couple of seconds late for a meeting, and they decided to fine me, and I had to spin the wheel of fortune, and I landed on number 1s to and from training, so hence the suit. but it fell on media day, so everyone gets to see me in a nice suit. So how bad? Pardon? Yeah, well, it was a couple of seconds, all right. Yeah, there's a cut-off time, and if you're late, and which is fair enough. So yeah, I'm not the only one who's spun, but yeah, you got to see what one of the punishments is. James Ryan, Jack Conan and Dave Kilcoyne. The reason it's a dictatorship is because they're claiming that they're above the law, so there could be a French Revolution yet.
Well, the bad news, the sad news I was telling you about earlier on, South African hooker Malcolm Marx is going to be missing the rest of the World Cup simply because, that knee injury he suffered in training, so he's out. The 29-year-old has won, 64 caps and is widely considered to be among the best players in the world in his position, was injured in contact. Defending champion South Africa faced Romania in Bordeaux on Sunday. In the meantime, though, Zizi Kodwa says that his team selection for the upcoming Rugby World Cup Pool B game against the less fancied Romania remain competitive despite his decision to enforce wholesale changes to his starting lineup. He was joined at the press conference by scrum half Jaden Hendrickse and also the prop was there, Vincent Koch.
The most important thing in terms of selection is to make sure that we are competitive and beat Romania. That is the most important thing. So when we talk team selection, it doesn't necessarily mean Romania. When we selected the team for Scotland, when we selected the team for New Zealand, we select a team that we feel is good enough to beat the opposition. That's the most important thing. It's a good question, but I'm probably not going to answer it in a lot of detail from a tactical point of view. I mean, there's some things that there is a definite objective that we want in this game, and like you rightly say, it's winning. Point difference might come into this pool. So, but the first thing is, listen, we need to bank the win against Romania, but there is definitely some tactical and technical stuff that we want to get out of this game, and that's going to be our challenge. And it's almost internally focused on us that we make sure we get what we want out of this game.
What we expect from Romania is basically they're going to be physical, they're playing for their country, they're going to come out there and play with passion, with pride. They're going to represent the country, so we're expecting a physical team.
Yeah, the thing is, when you put on the jersey, you're representing yourself, your family, and the 60 million people in South Africa. It doesn't matter who we play against, it's a test match, and we have to focus on what we can do and how we can make everyone proud, your teammates, the coaches, the staff, and the rest of the world. So we don't take any game lightly. It's a test match, and that's how we approach it this week.
All right, looking at the New Zealand camp, though, Sam Whitelock is going to be joining Richie McCaw as New Zealand's most capped player when he lines up against Namibia at the Rugby World Cup in Toulouse tomorrow. He's going to be moving level now with former All Blacks captain McCaw with 148 appearances. New Zealand coach Ian Foster made a string of changes to his team from last week's tournament opener as the All Blacks look to get back to winning ways after successive defeats by South Africa as well as France.
It's a massive occasion for Sam and for us as a team. I think he's been a sort of a warrior for this team for obviously a long time, and to equal someone like Richie test matches for the All Blacks is a massive achievement. So I know how much we all know how much it means for him to put on a black jersey, and to do it for the 148th time is a very special occasion. So one that we just want to make sure we put a performance on that gives that sort of record a lot of respect, and then celebrate it with them afterwards. So, I think it's World Cups. You're pitched against teams that you don't play very often, and so you got to enjoy that sort of moment. We're playing Namibia. It's sort of the only time we meet at World Cups, and in many ways they're exciting games because of that. So we're in a new city for us. It's I don't think we've played here since the 2007 World Cup. So there's a whole lot of new things for us. But World Cups are about making sure that games like this, we've got to make, obviously got a job to do in terms of getting a result, and we've also got to make sure that we go and express ourselves and play the game the way we want to play it.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Samir Nokovic. Good luck in your journey at TIS Galaxy.
Thank you.
Does your nickname Kokota continue with them, or you have a new one now?
Kokota is going to be there forever.
Can you sing the lyric? Do you remember it?
I Kokota piano. Yadlala piano.
Tata boy, thank you so much, man. Samir Nokovic. Trust me, you can say Samir Nokovic from Kwamashu.
The piano. Yadlala piano.
Tata boy.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW. The clash of the Titans at the Rugby World Cup. Be there with Marawa on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live.
Little show of the ball and away he goes.
Living the dream. Hashtag MSW for rugby reality.
Rugby reality to school sports reality. That's the dream that we're talking about here, because you know what? He's made his way through from Boksburg. That's where he's been hosting day one of the school sports Indaba. And I can tell you this, one thing is certain, and which is dying and very painful, very, very painful to watch. The agonizing death is how school sports just isn't an integral part of our schools these days. I mean, growing up, you and I, we knew that if you wanted to look for talent, it's there at school. And the number of stars schools gave birth to is incredible. You can list them. You can go on and on. But what went wrong? That's the big question. What went wrong to school sport? I want your honest opinion, because I'll tell you who's just popped into the studio. Maybe the school's Sports Indaba is going to tackle that. The sport department's two-day Indaba in Joburg, aimed at strengthening school sport, kicked off today with representatives coming through from, among others, the national federations and also the departments of basic education, and the justice attended that imbizo. Let's chat now to the man who's just rocked up here in studio. Fresh from that, the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Baba Zizi Kodwa. Good to see you, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good evening to you and good evening to your listeners.
How would you summarize it? Early in the morning, woke up, there was a packed room. Firstly, you were surprised by that turnout.
We were oversubscribed. That tells you the enthusiasm that sport administrators and practitioners have been waking. Something has been lacking. And therefore, they look forward to this opportunity where not only is a talk shop, but for us to come with a new implementation plan. You can see the enthusiasm about the idea of school sport. Many of them, they thought, look, government, you have adopted many policies in the past. Nothing has happened. What's new today? And I think it was based on some of the presentations which were made that people began to realize that perhaps maybe it's another opportunity. I mean, the presentation by Jamaica, for example, it was a wow. Because we thought we should benchmark ourselves against international practices and best practices. Jamaica, I'm sure yourself, with all the international countries that presented, is one outstanding, because it's important to learn from the best in the world. Why Jamaica has got such a big, success sporting country, you can see from the presentation. Is a culture of winning, but that culture of winning in Jamaica starts at 7 years old.
That was crazy. I think that was one of the points that made you almost fall off your chair.
Almost like at 7 years old, there's a competition. That is where they start. With us, you have people who start at 19. You have Bumzama Weni playing the best at 39, started playing at 29. They are very old.
Kutatso Monchane, who's just come back as a US Open champion now.
That's examples that you have. And the only question it could be, what if? You can imagine, the question is, what if they started at 7, at 8? So if we want to build a winning nation, which is the nation of our dream, we need to start and to learn from the best. I think Jamaican model of starting from 7 is one of the best examples I take from today's presentations.
All right, as we head into the break, feel free to call in 011-883-947, 011-883-947. Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Zizi Kodwa, is here in studio, fresh from that Indaba, day 1, day 2 tomorrow. And also you can send us a WhatsApp voice note, 060-708-0484, 060-708-0484. Let's be honest, let's be brutally honest. Let's have a conversation that affects you, me, everybody else. The death of school sport. What has happened? What has happened? What needs to happen are some of the questions that we do need from you. We're also streaming live on the YouTube channel, so you can watch, listen, and comment. And hey, trust me, Zizi Kodwa is not the first Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture in the country. So if there have been failures, where have you failed?
It's kickoff time. The Mighty Box take on the world.
He's got one already and he's going to get another.
The Rugby World Cup, all the news, all the views.
Springboks with a penalty advantage.
All the action, right here on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
They have to scramble.
Hashtag MSW with Marawa on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live.
Go from a test drive to living your best life with BMW and the Silo Hotel. Stand the chance to win up to 4 nights at one of Cape Town's most exclusive destinations by either test driving or buying a BMW before 25 September. To book your test drive, visit your preferred BMW retailer or log on at buy.bmw.co.za/test drives. T's and C's apply.
Lotto Star brings you lotteries from the European continent, where a single bet could win you instant payouts of up to 125 million rand. Bet now on the UK Lottery Plus, Spanish Bonanza, the Greek Joker, Rapid Super Enna, Euro Millions Deluxe, and Tour de Millions. Lotto Star, your world of live games.
Lotto Stars, licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18s. National Responsible Gambling Program. 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
Have you seen our upgraded currency with enhanced security features? Identifying a genuine banknote is easy. Just look, feel, and tilt. Hold the banknote against the light and look for the Big 5 watermark unique to each denomination. Feel the race print on Madiba's portrait and tilt to see the security thread change color. For more, download the SA Reserve Bank Currency app and spend your money with confidence. Our money, our pride. SA Reserve Bank, connecting us.
Hit the road in style with Sani, your ultimate car rental companion. Adventure begins with choice, and we offer a selection of high-quality vehicles, motorcycles, workhorse buggies, shuttles, motorhomes, and more at the best daily and monthly rates, with nationwide pickup points at all major airports. Visit Sani, that's SANI.COZA, and enjoy a 30% discount till end October. Sani is the official car rental partner to Prime Media. Go further. Go safer. Go Sani.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of lights being switched off to reduce the impact of load shedding. Eskom is encouraging you to use less electricity at all times by switching off electrical appliances and lights that are not in use. Cell phone chargers, TVs, and decoders still use electricity if they're not switched off at the socket. You see, if we all switch off what is not in use, our combined efforts could help reduce the impact of load shedding. Let's work together by switching off to reduce load shedding.
Welcome to Wrexham returns to Disney Plus for a brand new season. The docuseries continues to follow the Wrexham Football Club, the town and its residents. The club extraordinarily positioned as an international prospect and is wallowing in the newly found limelight. Executive producers Ron Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have been welcomed into the community and in turn have totally fallen in love with the club. Welcome to Wrexham Season 2, streaming from 13 September, exclusively on Disney Plus. T's and C's apply.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Samir Nokovic, but as a human being away from football, what does that do to you? Does it destroy you somehow? I'm Samir Nokovic, I'm 31 years old now. I'm tired of this, I can't handle it anymore. Did that ever cross your mind?
Just mentioning 31 years old,
yeah,
those kind of years are like the best years that a footballer can be. This is the highest level that he can achieve his potential.
Best years of your life in your 30s, you're right. Ronaldo, Messi, the other side of 36, having the best days, packing stadiums in America. Saudi Arabian League is on its head. They're playing the best years of their lives as far as football is concerned, and I understand exactly where you're from.
These are the days of our life.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW. Marawa Sports Worldwide. Powered by Welcome to Wrexham Season 2. Streaming from 13 September on Disney Plus, Rise, Vuma, and Sowetan Live.
And of course, we are live on Rise FM, Vuma FM, Sowetan Live. Headquarters right here, hey? 947 in Joburg, the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. Zizi Kodwa is my guest on the back of day one of the school Sport Indaba in Boksburg today. One of the things that you highlighted is that governments fail the learners, young people, in and out of school. Powerful statement that, because in the end, we look to you as leadership. We look to you for guidance. We look to you on many different fronts as well. So when you say that, fail the learners and the young people in and out of school, just expand on that.
It's only, you can only make progress when you admit some of your shortcomings.
Yeah.
Otherwise, committing mistakes, the best teacher in life is to acknowledge and actually make progress that I think may improve the situation. I think if you look at the number of people who were there in 2011, in 2018, they're very doubtful about government commitment to change or commitment to school sport. Policies were adopted, lack of implementation of policies. Transformation chapter was adopted, has gathered dust. So you need to make a commitment that indeed this is not about another talk shop. And I hope that that commitment will carry through. In the same way, we made a commitment on the first day I got appointed, realizing that the bedrock of sport development in any country is school sport. I'm a product of inter-school. I'm a product of school sport. I know what it means. In the past, we had something called PE, not Port Elizabeth, but physical education.
Sure.
Suddenly, we no longer have physical education as a curriculum.
Yeah.
We will do that, treat it as an extra curriculum. And there are certain things that we must align from the policy point of view, which must align to NDP, which is the National Development Plan of Government. The good thing about Jamaican model, sport policy is aligned to national development of the country because it's part of development of the nation of society. And therefore for us, there are lessons to be learned. Hence it was important today that we must receive this international benchmark, the best countries in the world. We've got this foundation of grassroots sport. And I think there are lessons to be learned with my counterpart in basic education, that there are certain things that we must align. There's too much misalignment from a policy framework point of view, legislative point of view. Everything is everywhere. And therefore we don't see the impact of school sport, but we can see the absence of school sport by the performance of some of our national teams, which I would mention by name.
You can. You can, trust me, because we're going to head in that direction. But you mentioned something quite important when you talk about the extramural activity being physical education, but you want to bring it back as something that is part of the curriculum. How are you going to align that with the Ministry of Basic Education in South Africa? Is that something that will happen? I mean, what do you need to go through to ensure that it does happen?
We are a signatory to UNESCO. UNESCO's presentation tells a story that throughout in Europe, physical education is compulsory. Failure or failing physical education, you may not even be promoted because it's very critical in the life of people in Europe. Many countries in Africa do the same. We were cited by UNESCO today in your presence, which was a bit embarrassing to me, that we are one country in Africa that does not have physical education as a subject. And therefore, even our performance is showing in terms of some of the... So what we need to do is to review our curriculum and add physical education. It's not just an extramural. It must be part of its curriculum.
That UNESCO presentation, there were some very hard-hitting pointers that were there. For you, what was the most sobering outside of the curriculum issue? I think one that really stands out for me is that 41% drop in terms of just physical activity post the COVID pandemic, from across the board and including schools. So if you have 41% of people not having the basic level of activity, then as a nation, we might as well not even participate in any of the major sporting activities, including Olympic Games or Commonwealth Games.
We might as well not participate in any international tournament. Whether you are talking about the rugby, we are talking about Olympics next year and Paralympics. Unless you go back to basics. Your basics is to the foundation. The foundation is grassroots, and therefore it makes sure that you're able to participate in a competitive sport. You don't seem to understand that competitive sport does not start at 29 and 30-year-old. These are oldies. You need to start at 7 with a vision. For example, I give this example in the morning. Australia developed what is called a blueprint for netball. The government appointed a commission that came up with a blueprint of 15 years vision. In that 15 years, Australian netball was in 3 years. It reached the netball semi-finals. Look where Australia is today. It has not even reached 15 years old in terms of that vision. We need a blueprint in South Africa that has got a vision about where do you take this winning nation using sport, not only as part of nation building, social cohesion, but also as part of building a nation. And I think sometimes we get too gung-ho about our participation in international sport, and yet we lack a foundation, which is why we win 1 year, 4 years, we worst performers, because there's no foundation to supplement as a feeder to the team that would have participated and won in 4 years later.
The issue of facilities, I know that was number one that you spoke about, lack of facilities. I guess the counter to that, Minister, you would say South Africa has a lot of facilities. Maybe some are not being well looked after. They're being run down. Townships, they were proper facilities. You could be able to play tennis. You could play basketball, netball, but they've been all run down, not looked after, not being well kept. I remember when Zambia won the Africa Cup of Nations here in South Africa, what they did was come across the border, come to South Africa, do their training, because they thought, great facilities, we're going to come here, we're going to train. And guess what? They went to win the Africa Cup of Nations. Same facilities that we have every day we wake up and we go to sleep. So from a facility point of view, how can we better utilize the ones that are there and not leave them, and maybe in the end, cows go grazing on the very same fields that kids should be playing on?
Sometimes the mistake we make is to tick boxes. You want to build a stadium with no facility, there's no ownership of community in the middle of nowhere. And the community does not see, there's no relationship between that facility and the community. Therefore, there's no ownership. The community sees that as something that belongs elsewhere. But if community that is linked to the community development, which is a model, like Jamaican model again, a facility is linked to the development of a community and of society. And the mistakes we make with all the deficiencies we have in terms of the facilities, those little that we have, there's a misalignment. We go, we build, like I say, it can't be aligned to the development of a community in terms of the achievements of that community or development in terms of sport in that community. These are the things that from a policy point of view, it must not be about ticking boxes. It must be practically linked to the development of a community, of a society, of a country.
Spesihle is on the line, joining us from Johannesburg, 011-883-8947. Spesihle, good evening.
Good evening, Robert. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. The minister's here. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. So just basing it off my experience, and hello to you, to Minister.
Evening, sir.
Just basing it off my experience, having worked in the school structures and still working in school structures in terms of teaching and coaching, the biggest problem is, for example, in Joburg, what we're finding is kids will pick to play club sport more than school sport. And I think the biggest challenge will be or is that the offer at school sports in terms of soccer, maybe the seasons are shorter. Sometimes you find that the seasons are like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And also, if you are playing for a club like Kaizer Chiefs Development or Super Sport United Development, some of the kids don't want to represent our schools. It feels as if they get injured playing for school, it also becomes an issue. That's a soccer point of view. But I do think that school sports, in terms of a rugby, a cricket, a water polo, a hockey, there is a huge buy-in in terms of parents focusing on school sports. I think soccer is the one that we're struggling with the most. So that's how I've really found it. It's been quite challenging. I think having worked here in Joburg and KZN, it's been a huge challenge to just get the school soccer going. But also our national body, SAFA, is also giving us quite a big problem because we're not getting coaches who are qualified and coaches who are competent, or our teachers are also not being trained to be coaches as well. As you would find for rugby, cricket, and other sports, teachers are also at a level, at a provincial level, and some of them at a national level. So I think that's where the gap is. I think it's upskilling teachers to be good coaches, or giving these schools good coaches, or also just making sure that how do we now bridge the gap between club and school.
Spesihle, thank you so much. I want to ask you to listen on the radio. Thank you so much indeed. Valid points. I mean,
absolutely correct.
How do you respond to that?
Two things. The first one, it explains what I've just said now, that we need physical education.
Yeah.
It must not be an option. 2, you need trained, qualified coaches. You know, yesterday, this morning, from Nyandu, one of the sport journalists, sent me something about a coach who has been coaching for 15 years. Picked up one of the popular players, Mabena, was 16-year-old, picked up from a community to the school academy. And we need such coaches so that, as it is now, any teacher who looks like me and you, looks healthy, can be a coach in a school. That is not how it should be. And I think part of what we must make physical education, part of curriculum, is to address exactly the issue that is raising. Because at the moment, it's more of an option as a learner. I want this, I don't want that. It must be part of a curriculum so that when he qualifies as a coach, there is no option of a learner because it's part of your curriculum that you must pass.
But let's say we agree. We all agree. It must be part of the curriculum. How quickly can we get there?
Well, as you know, that can take less than a year if there's an agreement, because all what you need to do, if it means a legislation or it means a bill to go to Parliament, these are the things that can go before Parliament, before or by the end of the 6th administration. There are a number of processes that must be followed. But there is all stakeholders must agree, including teachers' union, because some of them, they may think that for them to participate is extra money because they are not trained to be coaches. You've got to deal with these issues going forward. It shouldn't be a difficult discussion, Rob, because there must be a consensus. And I think social compact is what will help us to move speedily to arrive at this decision.
You love sport, Mr. Minister, and I know that...
I'm a product of school sport.
You could have achieved, you could have gone on to great things, but there's a lot of kids. And I always say that somewhere, somehow, we miss the point that sport is another way of getting out of poverty. It is another way based on your skill set. The likes of Nonchinga, you know, from the Eastern Cape, world boxing champion today. You cannot take that away from him. A Neymar, South American, Brazilian, you know, poverty-stricken, Ronaldinho. We know him world over today. One of the richest people that we'll ever find today. There's a lot of South Africans in the same boat. So I wouldn't find any other reason to say we can't legislate on something like this. And I think it will be taking this country so many steps forward so that we re-look like we used to do in the days of Dingan Tobela, Harold Fulbright, Gerrie Coetzee, everybody else that were the world champions, is that they then became heroes to the young generation. Young generation now looks at different things. You want to be a thug, you hero worship the thugs because the good life comes out of that.
Immediately.
Yeah. So now, sacrifice, body, invest in your body, be able to do the things that will make you into a hero. So all I'm saying is that it really would surprise me, Mr. Minister, if there were to be people that object to something that is able to lead people out of poverty.
You can expect anything in South Africa, Rob. But let me tell you something I learned yesterday when we were discussing something elsewhere in Cape Town. The biggest export of US is sport and music, and is protected by US laws. Why can't we do the same? Why can't we do the same? Not just any artist can just live and sing in UK, because UK is protected in terms of the rights of musicians in the UK. And there's something that is lacking in South Africa that I think through the laws, we must protect our own exports. One of the greatest exports, is, for example, now, just to off-ramp, is Amapiano. We need to protect Amapiano. We need to protect those of Maporisa and others who fly the South African flag and go internationally and make sure that they use this South African export, which is doing so well. We must do the same with sport. Hence, we must celebrate those who are doing well in South Africa.
But how do we... And it's a good thing because, you know, we're dipping 1% into your arts and culture portfolio within the sports entity as well. People always wondered why Ladysmith Black Mambazo always won Grammy Awards. My answer to that was that they were bringing a unique sound to the world. They were not trying to copy the American way of doing things. So if you keep your originality, if your sound is Amapiano, like you say, then let us protect it. But if you don't protect it, other people take it and they better it and they improve it and they make the millions.
Already, I mean, I'll be meeting with them tomorrow, some of them, Maporisa and others, who travel throughout the world, DJ Melons and others, because we don't make it easy for them to travel as a country.
Yeah.
to export this product called Amapiano. Yet other countries make it easy for those who represent, they become ambassadors of those countries. Soon it will be taken over by other countries. So I'll be meeting with them, with the Department of Home Affairs, as well as DECO, because we need to make sure that as they export this South African product throughout the world, it's easy for them to fly the South African flag without compromising Amapiano. Otherwise, anybody, without protecting that IP, can just take it.
He's the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. He's going to be with me up until the top of the hour. So do come back after the break. Give us a call, 011-888-947. Jeff is already on the line on hold. We got a whole lot of WhatsApp voice notes, so let's see them through.
3, 2, 1.
It's here, the Rugby World Cup.
Springboks with a penalty advantage.
Tracked by Marawa every day. #MSW on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live.
This one is for you. Let's go.
Get DSTV and watch all the Rugby World Cup France 2023 action live. From 8 September to 28 October. Back the Box, only on SuperSport, your home of sport. Stronger together.
Change your world with this sizzling hot deal from Cell C. Get the Samsung Galaxy S23 Plus on a 36-month Elevate 2 contract with anytime data, social data, and any network minutes for only 999 Rand per month. Add a Galaxy Watch 5 for only 50 Rand per month. Elevate your style and save big. Call 084-145 or visit a Cell C store. Valid until 16 October. T's and C's apply. Cell C. Change your world.
Dad, imagine there was a car that could help save the planet.
Well, we don't have to imagine, my boy. We drive a Haval HEV already.
What do you mean?
Haval's HEV range only uses half the fuel of a regular car. Halving your fuel means halving your emissions, which means saving the planet. Clever boy. Discover the Haval HEV range from under 490,000 Rand, including 60,000 Rand deal assist. Visit haval.co.za for more.
The nature of HR. It's true. There are so many moving parts. It's not just about the processes, but also about the people. Everyone has their part to play because they're like different parts of a puzzle that you can put together to help the organization.
Sage HR and payroll tools help HR champions spend less time on admin and more time bringing the team together. Sage, helping business flow. Visit sage.com today.
The Folklore Festival returns for another year of a vibrant celebration of community, culture and heritage on the 16th of September with a Pan-African offering of music, dance, food and crafts, a kids area, workshops and book fair for the whole family. Featuring Shoma Jozi, Fusi Mahlasela with myself, indelible storyteller Pilani Bubu as your host. The Folklore Festival, supported by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and the National Arts Council. Tickets available on Quicket.
Welcome to Wrexham returns to Disney Plus for a brand new season. The docuseries continues to follow the Wrexham Football Club, the town and its residents. The club extraordinarily positioned as an international prospect and is wallowing in the newly found limelight. Executive producers Ron Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have been welcomed into the community and in turn have totally fallen in love with the club. Welcome to Wrexham Season 2, streaming from 13 September, exclusively on Disney Plus. T's and C's apply.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Samir Nokovic.
I just want to congratulate Oma Piano for getting a new club after such a long time. I just want to also tell him that we love him at Amakosi.
What does that mean to you? I mean, that's his chief supporter.
Easily can say that like I feel here like I'm at home. I've been in lots of countries, but I haven't met warm-hearted people like here in South Africa.
No, we saw that. We saw that at Miss South Africa. We saw how warm-hearted you were.
Yeah, I am.
How excited you were. You were supportive of your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she almost became Miss SA.
For me, she is Miss SA.
#MSW. #MSW.
We are streaming the show live on YouTube. You can watch, listen, as well as comment. Jeff has been on hold. Jeff, I thank you very much for your patience. Welcome to the show. The minister is here.
Hi, Mr. Marawa. How are you?
I'm very good, man. This is a topic close to your heart?
Yes, and hi to the minister.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Minister, I just have two quick ones. There is this sport. Apparently, the facilities are not in the township. But the sports, we could know about it because of we used to see it in our TVs. You understand? That's the number one, which is a problem. We no longer, when I grew up, I knew that I would watch cricket on SAT. I knew that I would watch rugby on SABC 2. I knew that I would watch soccer on SABC 1. But all that is gone. So which means kids are no longer exposed to the sports. Besides not having the facilities, but they are no longer exposed to the sports. I think that's where you should be studying. All sports of national interest should go back into our screens. And there is facilities in Alka Stadium, the cricket oval. But that facility is no longer being used for cricket. It's used for events. And we'd like to see the facilities being revamped. There is some sports facilities which we have currently that they can be utilized. But those facilities, they are utilized for something else. And they are only being fixed when something has to happen. But all we are asking, Minister, we want our sports back on free-to-air television, especially the national sport. Like, because of now, it's embarrassing. Australia, they're in town. We cannot even watch one match. And I'm worried now the Cricket World Cup is up and is coming. The last one we missed, we did not even watch one match. This one, nothing. And
tell me, Jeff, just very quickly, sorry to come in, also your line is starting to be a bit wobbly. What did you make of this week? Were you able to access Bafana playing DRC?
No, I had to stream, Tarok. Luckily, I do have the privilege of streaming.
So unluckily for others that don't.
Unluckily for others, yeah. And if you consider Bafana, they never had support. And the other thing you're still doing, you're denying the kids to watch the matches.
Okay, let's get the minister to respond to that. Minister, before you answer, I see there's something pretty similar to what Jeff was talking about.
Hello, Rob and your listeners. Rob, I'm disappointed in the minister. The minister first day SAPC with accept my terms with Super Sport to block open view which is going bugeli rap. Konamanje, but is Lashamapani, Arian, Sawalasha, but into the digital. Konama Super Sport is block us from which is bugeli rap who open view. I'm a panerian son now.
Okay. It's got to do with broadcasting. What's your response to both?
We had a presentation today. One of the panelists' panel discussions was really about the broadcasting rights in South Africa, which is becoming a problem, Rob. My view is that the public broadcaster, which has got a public mandate, cannot be treated the same as private companies when it comes to sub-licensing and broadcasting rights. That is a regulatory matter. Sure. And the matter is before the Competition Commission as we speak. But I would imagine that ICASA as well must review these matters because at the moment, the SAPC doesn't have a revenue except the grants that it gets either from government and so on. And they're vis-a-vis companies which are quite rich from a broadcasting point of view. Interestingly today, I'm happy that the matter of rugby has been resolved, although it caused a lot of wobbling before it got resolved. And I had a meeting today with the president of CSA Cricket South Africa to understand what is the nature of a problem. Essentially, the problem you have is problem of leadership.
On which side? SABC or from cricket?
I raised this with SABC. I think at SABC there's a problem of leadership. There must be a change in terms of their financial model from a commercial point of view. They've got to revisit that so that there must be a revenue for them to make sense when they negotiate. For an example, the ICC broadcasting rights in terms of the World Cup are owned by ICC. In other words, it's not SuperSport, it's SABC. And already you can see the dispute between what SABC is faced with. And I can tell you it's not going to be easy for them to have these negotiations with the ICC now in terms of the World Cup because the broadcasting right is owned. So there's an issue of leadership which has got nothing to do with the current leadership. I think it goes back a long way.
Yeah.
That's why these issues should have been resolved a while back change the financial model of SABC so that it becomes sustainable. And is able to get revenue. At the moment, it's zero revenue from SABC.
The late Peter McLaren ran a very tight ship, very profitable ship, very marketable ship. And SABC was roaring as far as business is concerned. SABC then loses the PSL rights. Then all hell breaks loose. It's a product that is there. So in the same way that while you are fighting the good fight about rugby, for rugby to have a place at the SABC now with the Rugby World Cup, there's Bafana. They put it on streaming. So Jeff also said, luckily he is one of the few that can stream. What about the greater public in an occasion that's happening at Orlando Stadium in South Africa and not in France?
If we are talking about exposure in sport, if you are talking about access to sport, if you are talking about mass participation, if you exclude people through broadcasting right, actually that blackout does not make you to achieve these objectives of access to sport and exposure and therefore mass participation. It would be a sad day that almost all sporting codes and federations, they decide sometimes of their own to go to multi-choice, to go to super sport, because the national broadcaster is not able to give them, is not able to buy some of these broadcasting right. Hence I spoke about issues of leadership. And I do think that I can see there's a storm coming already. I mean, a number of federations, talking about World Cup, Cricket South Africa, the ICC is coming, Bafana, they're going to Ivory Coast. And I already foresee a problem.
Yeah.
I don't see a vision of leadership that is trying to mitigate the storm that I see coming.
Because it's always last minute. I was saying on the show that why is it last minute?
And again, you will see, and it will be like Zizi is trying to ferment this issue so that he must intervene. It's not good. It's not good for either of these companies, because for them it does not make commercial sense, because they lose. I mean, I'm sure that SABC lost a lot of revenue in terms of the agreement, as well as Super Sport. I don't think they made a lot of revenue commercially from the agreement, because it was a rush. And I think if you had a leadership, visionary leadership in all these institutions that understands that broadcasting right, or let's have a debate in the country about sports right. That debate must then broaden this discussion about whether should we treat the public broadcaster with a public mandate the same way we treat SuperSport, which are private companies.
They go to Parliament when they don't meet their targets. Government bails them out. Do they become accountable? I don't know. Let's hear the people what they got to say.
Robert, greet you and the minister with a good heart. How many guests on your program say the talent is there? It's got to be found. Soccer has got scouts. So how about the minister sending scouts to smaller schools looking for talent? You know, if they play their normal rugby and then develop it. Mooi bly, Ben Richter.
Thank you so much, Ben Richter, as always, providing some food for thought. Let's hear some more.
Good evening, Mr. Rob. It's Fulfilang here, and good evening to MSW Shoulders, and good evening to Mr. Minister there. I feel that the sports department and the basic education department have really neglected school sports for quite some time. I mean, look at the many legends that are praised from yesteryear. Where did they start? They started in school. So my question is, why aren't these schools prioritizing sport? Yes, academics is important, but you are able to, balance sport and academics together. And I feel that school sports has been neglected for far too long, and many things are not addressed. So I feel that it needs to be addressed, and the sooner it is addressed, the better, so that, that the sporting side of things can improve, because to be quite honest, it leaves a lot to be desired. Let me be honest.
Fulfilang, thank you so much indeed. Let's hear some more.
Robert Marawa, Tabu from Orlando. Speaking as an educator. Mr. Marawa, something I want to highlight about this pool sports, why is it dying like this? Number one, infrastructure. There's no infrastructure in our schools, number one. And the Department of Education, basically what it does is it's giving schools a budget that looks at LTSM, that is books, and the fixing of the schools. And number two, Robert Marawa, teachers are so much under pressure. There's something called ATP. Teachers want, which is the annual teaching plan. Teachers just want to finish the ATP, just want to finish. They are so much under pressure with paperwork, and they forget about, sports activities, which is a concern, Robert Marawa. So immediately they took away the paperwork. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of talent in schools. Tabo from Orlando.
Tabo, thank you so much. Very sobering thoughts. We'll get the comments from the Minister.
Good evening, Robert, and to the Minister. With regards to your point, the point that you're talking about facilities, you know, Rob, I think we need to start changing the way that we do things. Instead of investing, more in facilities, we need to start investing in people, investing in players, in athletes, because most of the time you find that these facilities that get built, it's nothing more than an exercise to boost a certain cadre. It's another tender, and it's just an exercise for them to say, hey, look, this is what I built for my party is doing things for you, and then that facility gets vandalized, and then that facility, the community doesn't even have access to that facility. So the best thing, I think, we need to start focusing more on the athletes. Let's invest in the people themselves, and I think we'll go even further.
Invest in the people, the athletes.
Hi, Mr. Marawa. And I to the Minister. Really, what is happening in South Africa is really disappointing. Before we're gonna start talking about things like the quota system and everything, there is this say, I think even Mam Felicia Mabuza was saying it, you cannot be what you cannot see. Currently now, a black child is denied an opportunity to watch cricket and rugby. Me personally, when I grew up, I knew that rugby would play on SAPC 2. I knew that cricket would play on SAPC 3. I knew that soccer would play on SAPC 1. But all that now is gone. That's where we should be studying. All that now is gone. So our black kids, they cannot watch our sports, even our national teams. And it was not the case before. So what is going on? Even the facilities that we have in a township, I'll tell you personally with cricket, Alka Cricket Oval, it has facilities, but they're not well being looked after. They can only be looked after when there's going to be something of music or what. That's where they are being used. So our facilities are being misused, and it's really disappointing.
Disappointing. Minister, you got 2 minutes. A whole wealth of information, questions, suggestions have been put on the table. What do you make of it? How do we summarize this?
I think let's not lose hope. We are the winning nation. There are certain things we must do right together, working with the people, including making sure that there's a rollout of facilities. About a week ago, we launched one of the state-of-the-art facility in Lufense Girls High School in Orlando East, working with our commercial partner, Nedbank and Sports Trust. We'll roll out that program in a number of areas in the country where we think there are schools that indeed they are good in sport, but they lack facility. But I think there's a lot that we must do. The point that is made by Tabo, the issue about broadcasting, because it means the young kids, young at the age, they are not exposed to certain sporting codes. They are denied exposure, and therefore we cannot have them fully participating. The issue about broadcasting right, I just hope that the leadership of whoever is listening so that this issue does not become again another issue like we resolved with rugby. But I think we're a sporting nation. Let's work together. Let's not lose hope. We'll continue to work with federations and schools. But let's make sure that school sport is a bedrock of our school sport development in the country.
Yep. Every 4 years, there's a cycle of rugby. In another 4 years, there'll be a Rugby World Cup. There'll be a Football World Cup in another 4 years. So all I'm saying from a broadcasting perspective is that you're right. People need to lead. That's why they got into leadership positions and not to be reactionary at the last minute. Right now, I can tell you there's 21 days to go before the Cricket World Cup. There's 316 days to go before the Olympic Games in Paris. So we have no excuse. Minister, thank you so much indeed.
Thanks, Rob.
Look forward to more coming out of your day 2 deliberations tomorrow.
Thanks very much for the platform.
Thank you very much for dropping in. We'll continue with this conversation. I see there's been a lot of interest triggered by that. But also, hey, we'll be back again tomorrow for the Friday edition. Legends pouring into the studio live on 947, Rise FM, Vuma FM, Sowetan Live, Marawa Sports Worldwide, brought to you by Season 2 of Welcome to Wrexham, streaming from the 13th of September on Disney+. Enjoy. Catch you again tomorrow.
3, 2, 1. It's here. The Rugby World Cup.
Springboks with a penalty advantage.
Tracked by Marawa every day. #MSW on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live.